on the interwebs. I'm Rachael Blaske.
And I'm Julie Ahern.
And today's topic is Manufacturing 101. And Julie and I, veterans of the board game industry, will chat over a good cup of coffee. Well, she's had too much already, so she switched to tea, but I never can have too much coffee. So we're going to chat about this topic that we feel is an important part of running a board game publishing company, and all the while discussing your comments and questions in the live chat because you're invited.
And today's episode is sponsored by Arcane Wonders, publishers of the Dice Tower Essentials lines of games, including Onitama, Smartphone Inc., Aquatica, the brand new Sherlock 13, which is a light deduction game for 2 to 4 players where anyone could have committed the crime. Available at your friendly local game store or wherever you buy games.
Excellent. And as always, you can share the stream because we'd appreciate it. And we're going to even give you time to do it right now. Gosh, it feels good to be back. I am just all over this today. So good. We have some news. We have news, Julie.
We do have news.
Excellent.
We have information. Before I get into that, though, the headlining news is that it's Rachel's birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Rachel. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
And now the news.
And now. I was like, where are we going into what today?
Right. Convention watch continues.
Mm-hmm.
So there has been a lot of conversation around Gen Con really quickly about whether or not people will attend. There has been quite a bit of controversy since they've pushed back the date, where people still say they aren't necessarily, specifically vendors, saying they're not, they're concerned about safety and what have you. So I know that is something that has been talked about quite a bit, both on social media and back and forth emails, conversations between publishers. So again, keeping an eye out on whether or not Gen Con issues any sort of formal statement about that. But Origins has now posted the information that you need for your convention itself. So June 1st is when hotel blocks open and exhibitor applications are due by. So that all happens at the same time. So make sure that as a publisher, you have your applications in before June 1st, and then on June 1st, make sure you get your hotels set up if you are attending Origins. June 15th, exhibitor deposits are due. So all your ducks in a row. And if you need that information, make sure you're going to the website to look at all of the key dates. But those are the two that are coming up pretty quickly. So make sure that you're all set if you're attending Origins.
And we did in the links below, links in the description box, it says, I think I put in the FAQ. So if people are curious what the safety precautions are looking at or anything else, it's all there for you.
Absolutely. And then our other news is a congratulations to Nicole Cutler, who is now a member of Arcane Wonders. So congratulations to her on her new job. She was, as you know, before at Pandasaurus and previous to that Jelly Bean Games, and she had taken a little bit of time off to spend time with the cutest baby in America.
Adorable.
Yeah. And now she's moving on. So she is director of projects. She's going to be running the production line there, So
which we're talking about today.
Which we are talking about today. So how do you get things ready for well, she's doing the how do you get things leading up to manufacturing, and she's quite good at it. So
awesome.
Everybody involved there, super lucky.
Woo! All right. So you can always click the 3 dots that are up in the upper right-hand corner. So you can choose to be notified every time we go live. And we'll also have a link to our YouTube account in the description box below so that you can subscribe and find our archived shows after streaming.
True story. So today, Manufacturing
101. I did my homework.
You did your homework.
I did.
I went to bed.
Well, when you just know the things, I mean, there you go.
I
Especially because
don't
you
know if I just know the things, but I have spent quite a bit of time in recent weeks, in general, but in recent
right.
weeks, it's been a manufacturing heavy month for Greenbrier Games. So it's all fresh in my head right now.
Right. I had to go down the rabbit hole a bit because it's been a hot minute since I've done this, but man, did it all come back. Oh, I am having nightmares of GSM and Incoterms now. So let's go ahead and jump right in to talk about what you need to have before you go to your manufacturer. So we're talking about pre-press files. We're talking about getting quotes and all of that stuff. And then, it looks like Stefan's even wondering what game that you're referring to that you
No,
are.
not referring, reffing.
Oh, sorry. Awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
Okay. So
just don't say my name 3 times. You might start hearing yourself singing the Banana Boat song. I'm just saying.
I was going to say.
I'm not saying. I'm just saying.
Okay. All right. Focus. So, we're talking about a lot of terminology because, we have a huge range of people who watch the show, and we're going to go ahead and start at the 101 level. So we're going to go to terminology. First off, when you're requesting quotes, you are going to be looking at different components. You're going to be looking at different logistics terms for pickup. You too. I am thinking, let's see, Incoterms are the ways that you are going to have your information, or sorry, your products picked up. You can work out a way for it to be picked up directly from the factory. And a lot of times your foreign partners will want to do that because they have their own logistics set up and other things that are coming and going. So that one would be EXW or X-weight. Also, you are going to quote out FOB, which is when they deliver it to the docks for you for marine transport. So those are a couple different things that you should be aware of for terms when you are looking to quote, because those are going to be different because they're going to include the transport.
And they're not ones that somebody who's new would think of immediately because you're just thinking of the product itself. You're not necessarily thinking about the shipping or the logistics afterwards. But that is something a manufacturer can handle. They do not have to.
Right.
But yes, asking what their quote is so that you can compare it even if you have no intention of ever using it, so that you can look at it compared to whatever logistics partner you're going to use is a good thing to ask for.
Right. And like I was thinking earlier, I'm like, they're going to think it's strange that I'm talking about this logistics piece when I'm talking about manufacturing, but it is usually involved in the quote because they're constantly moving things back and forth to the docks. It's something that they're used to answering questions about. So when you are sending quotes, those are the two that are the most common, I would say. Mm-hmm. And in the comments, if you have gotten any other type of Incoterm pickups, I'd love to hear about it. So that way we can dive into that. Next, the way that we're doing this new season is we're doing our chat, and then we'll bring on an expert the next week usually. So it's kind of twofold. So good questions will get asked next week.
Maybe addressed this week, maybe addressed next week. Or
depending.
both.
Yes.
Depends.
Yes.
So back to this. So manufacturing. So when you say files, it's important to know, like Adam said, it's not just, pencils, drawings of cards that are handwritten and in a disorganized pile of components at that point. You absolutely need to make sure that you have files, and you need to know what format a manufacturer wants them in, because they're not all the same. It would be
That's
lovely,
right.
but just like all of us publishers are unique and shiny and our own
individual.
individual special selves. So are manufacturers in their requests for how they want things. So you need to be aware of how many millimeters bleed do they want on the cards? Do they want it as a PDF? Do they want them all as one giant file, or do they want them in individual files, each individual card? There are a lot of questions that you want to make sure you want to know what the deliverable is when they receive it, to save you time once you start reaching out to them to do it. That's a question when you're talking to them about what they might want.
Absolutely. And when we have these pre-pressed files, what we're saying is industry standard is the Adobe what is it called? The Adobe software suite. And there are 3 that you would probably be using the most frequently. That would be InDesign, Illustrator, and some Photoshop. You've got your InDesign for a lot of the PDF generation. You've got Illustrator for your vector illustrations. And then you've also got your raster illustrations through Photoshop. But they don't want you to send a PDF that you created out of Photoshop. So make sure that you're looking through all of that stuff. So yeah. What were you going to add?
Michael has a question that I would like to
talk
about really quick. I wasn't going to go into this right now, but sure, let's dive in.
Yes. Let's do this. All right.
Do you have manufacturers try to outbid each other for your business? Yes. And I don't necessarily know if it's an outbid process, but I will ask several manufacturers at any given time for their quote. Absolutely. Yes, money is a big factor, because we all know, anybody watching knows, that the margins for board games we're not making fat stacks of cash here. We are. So that is an important factor, but it's not the only factor. Looking at the cost of the logistics, looking at the turnaround, looking at how well they communicate, so that there aren't mistakes that then are going to cost you time and money down the road, even though they appear cheaper at the beginning. Their track record of consistency, their visibility of being a quality manufacturer, in general public perception, are all factors in addition to what's the lowest price point. But yes, absolutely. If you're like, shoot, the
rabbit hole,
right? I will call around to every tire place when I need new tires. I don't understand why I wouldn't do the same thing.
Right. This is a lot more money.
Right. This is still shopping.
Man.
And I do enjoy shopping. So it's a different kind, and it's one where, there's a lot more factors going on, but it's the same kind of thing. You absolutely do. And and they're aware of it. So
yes,
get into that.
It's competitive.
Very competitive, but at the same time, I can go to Panda and say, this is the game I want. And they'll say, what is the price point you want? And we'll tell you if we can hit it or not. They know that they are doing more, they typically are doing higher level quality, and they're on the higher tier of level of expense compared to other manufacturers in the United States, at least. So they cut that time of arguing or negotiating. They're like, what's the price point? We'll tell you if we can hit it or not. Which is saving me time as well.
Yeah.
So it just depends. It depends on the company, and it depends on a lot of different factors, which we'll get into a little bit further down. So,
well, cool. So I'm going to also then move on to point number 2. You've got your PDF. You need to have all of your files in the color system of CMYK. Now, if that's confusing, CMYK is a variant like what you would be thinking about RGB. So red, green, blue. You've got is like cyan and cyan, magenta, yellow, and key. Key is black. When you say, you were saying something about earlier, like, oh, this is key, and I'm like, that is not the kind of key that is in my head right now. Key is black.
So yeah, there's CMYK, and then there's also, which the other major one is RGB. And a lot of artists might, so you have to make sure that you translate colors.
Yes.
If your art, make sure you're aware of that, or make sure you're communicating that with your artist, your friend who's doing the free art that you're
Exactly.
throwing in with your index
Yes.
cards.
And RGB is really common because it's digital on-screen color, and CMYK is for print, like Michael's saying. And so by doing overlap. So the other thing is having your images at resolutions of 300 pixels per inch or PPI or above, and having 3 millimeters of bleed on each file and at least 3 millimeters of margin. And then black text is pure black, not rich black. And what the heck does that mean? That means you're out of your CMYK, your K is at 100%. So there is all of this. I'm loving the comments. They're all like, yes, this. There's so much experience in our chat right now. It's amazing.
Yes.
I really like this one. It's don't make your art in RGB, because when you convert it to CMYK to print it, you will have the SADs, and that is legit. You will have
Agreed.
the SADs.
So so there's a lot of terminology, and I think that maybe moving on, because we still have lots more.
Oh, I know. This is like going to be so long. Okay, yeah.
So what the point is, you're reading from specifically, I believe, Pandas.
I am. So Panda has a design guidebook along with a component guidebook, and they have this nice little box that you can get examples of different things.
Of what they're, so you could have and a lot of, and it's funny that you said that, because I also have, I have long packs over here.
Right.
And E-stars, and I'm sure we both have.
I know they're all sitting right here.
So getting that so that you can see what the manufacturer's quality is, what they're, but also having a better conversation about what you're looking for is important.
Yeah, you'll end up with
so doing that
cores and
asking in advance so that you can have that, or setting up a meeting where you can meet and talk through at a convention is always very important. But
yes,
let's go through. We're kind of throwing out names. A quick list of pros and cons for manufacturers that you've worked with, or other ones, just what you've had good experiences with, or what things that you might, if you are a new consumer, what you might want to follow up with questions on for different manufacturers that you've worked with.
Right. For me, I did a lot of work with Bangui out of Shenzhen. And Bing was our rep over there when we were doing all of the mint tins. And he was great. Had a really good experience there, was easy to work with, and went back for several other prints, and had that custom mold made for the custom size of the tin. It was all great. So I would say each of those the different manufacturers have different things that they are better at than others. I would say cards were amazing over there. Tin work was good. The mints being made out of wood, I think their wood bits probably they're ones that are better. So we tried Wingo on Mint Cooperative. I know that there's people that have used Hopes, and after I left 524 Picato, they went in for mint control. They were using Hopes in the Picato collection. So when that fulfills, I'll get to see what that looks like. So lots of different experiences across the board. What about you?
So for all of our big box miniature from Zpocalypse through Folklore, we have used GPI. They are their offices are in Massachusetts, so they were relatively local to where the company is founded, so that it's easy to go out there. I will say so if you're looking at different companies, you're looking at a variety of things. And for me, they are not the highest of quality of all their components, but they are consistent. So they're never, it's never like one print run or one game comes out way, so much better. What we're asking for is what we get. price point has been consistent. Quality has been consistent. Communication is incredibly consistent. And they're also the ones that write a monthly newsletter
Oh
about
yeah.
the state of manufacturing as they are experiencing it. So I get a monthly newsletter, whether we're using them or not for any project, that says what's happening, what they see the bigger picture of happening in manufacturing in China, where they feel like they're fitting into it. So they have a lot of, and so that's all of our big box games, and they do a very good job with miniatures being consistent, which is for us a major factor. Plastics is very different than cards. So if you're not doing a card, if you're doing a card-based game, it's different than, yeah.
I'm sorry.
What?
Stefan's in absolute amazing. He's in rare form today, and I'm just cracking up every time I look at it.
Okay.
Yes.
So that, and then yes, so you were talking about Daniel being at Longpack. So
Yep.
Longpack is another company that we use pretty consistently. The cool benefit of Longpack and Panda is that I feel like they're the ones that have the highest profile in the United States. They're the
Mhm.
ones that people talk about the most. That being said, working with them is a delight. They are very, very mindful of being perfectionists. So they
Mhm.
want things just so, which on some level is kind of a challenge, because if they don't think your image has a high enough resolution and want it to be clearer, they're going to ask you for another picture, which sets back timelines. So you have to
Mhm.
make sure that you are also completely on point, but it does mean that the end result is
Yeah.
stunning. Um, and they are also willing to work with me about being creative. Of if I say, well, I want a small print run of my expansion, and I want those dice to be see-through, and they're specialty dice, and I don't want to build a mold for a thousand print run. There, can we laser print? Can we silk screen? What are the other options? I would like some cool components, but I don't necessarily want to make a mold for them that's a higher price point. Who else can you farm that out to? They're willing to do that legwork and pull in other factories to make you something that's preset. So for like bears, we have a little first player bear, and instead of making a mold, they found a baby shower manufacturer thing that does like little baby pastel bears, so that I could just buy a set number of them,
Yay.
which was adorable and perfect, and a lower price point for something that was a specialty Kickstarter item.
Right.
So those are
Awesome.
the two that I have worked with most consistently. I've done some smaller things with Panda, had some good success. And then I have spoken to but have not worked with per se. Let's see. eStar, Ningbao, and for both of those, when we talk about consistency, which they were talking about earlier in the chat, I loved eStar, but their miniatures are a much harder plastic than what we use. And so there would be a very big discrepancy if you are
Mhm.
playing any of our games, which have the same base, the same scale, the same, so that they're interchangeable, to suddenly have a much harder plastic with a much harder, and they're very consistent about what they use. So we didn't end up using them. They're quite good. And then some other companies that I would recommend at least looking for, asking for a quote, are Laya, Warmer, Starry. I think that's it. That's what I got.
Yeah. Yeah. Everybody was talking about what's in the comments, and apparently it is claimed by XYZ in yellow, and so nobody else can go there. So there are
Let's games. Yeah.
a lot of things that Nicole says that she's loved working with Boda. Definitely talk to your peers here. This is the one where you can do your research and talk to all the other wealth of knowledge that we have here
Right.
in the industry. So did you
And
want to, when do you want to show off what you got to see?
oh, so yes, we're going to talk about next just a quick, because this is
Yeah.
101,
Yeah.
a little bit about the process. So and a number of people watching today were with me, so that was great. So year before last now, which
Mm-hmm.
was actually 10 years ago at this point in
Right. In
pandemic
pandemic time.
times. I was fortunate enough to be able to go to China, specifically, this was Ningbo, and get to see their factories. So there was a group of us, and we went and got to see the process, which, if you haven't been able to do, is invaluable. Um, so we went and saw several different factories to see the process of how they work. So I'm going to talk about the cards first,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and building, and then the miniature second.
Okay.
It was a fun time. It was a very fun time. It was the most fun I've ever had. No, that's not even, well, yeah, no, it's up there. I like factories. I'm sorry. I do. I like going I went to Dice
Right.
Tower and made us go on a U-turn so I could go find Quartermaster Logistics warehouse so I could go do a warehouse tour. I'm that person. But going to the factories in China was amazing. And it wasn't amazing because, I mean, we got to do some really fun things because we were in China, but really it was amazing to see things being made and the process, and so informative to help as a publisher understand better what the process is so that you can communicate more effectively where there are disconnects,
Right.
which is huge. And also, I mean, right now, obviously we can't travel, but this is something that I know for certain in future times, if we have a game that's big enough and time sensitive enough, I would have no qualms flying over and being there while it's being made so I could be right on the spot to help
Mm-hmm.
with the approval process, to help with the communication process, um, which several companies do. And it's, I think, incredibly effective in helping the turnaround. And yes, that is a cost that you would have to incur, but if you're including it with the cost of a massive game that you want out that much sooner, it's
Right.
something that you actually can seriously consider.
And
So
it
anyway,
was fun when we were creating our intro for this season. You were just like, "Yes, that's exactly what it's like." And oh, that's perfect.
oh
Yes,
right,
that's
in the
I
intro, like
need that in.
where we're zooming in that first sequence for our new intro where you're in the
Oh,
factory. Yes. So we went to
okay.
several different factories, and we're not going to get too deep a dive. I will say, if this is something that people are interested in me doing my slideshow of Julie's trip to China manufacturing, I am happy to do a special separate thing. But since otherwise we'd be going forever, I will set that to the side, and maybe do a special "You're Invited" one day where we just do
Extra Julie
slideshow,
Day.
extra Julie Day. But big picture, because this is 101. So cards first, yes. So giving a quick look at, just so that at a glance you can see what it looks like. So the picture on the far left is die cuts. So you can see if if you have a specialty screen or board or components, that's being built out, um, and being held at your manufacturers so that anytime you need a reprint of your game, they're going to put that die cut on the press to actually create it. And then on the right are the printouts of components. So the result of, so it's going to be printed on a sheet and then put on the card stock and then punched with that die press, but in these massive sheets. So just a snapshot of how much is going on at once. So things like knowing, when I do cards, is it going to be done in a roll of where there's a set roll? They always do poker size that are 18 across, and then you're buying a certain amount of the paper, which is on these giant, they look, not to be crass, but they look like massive toilet paper rolls. Like you're just buying a certain amount and it's constantly being, or are they making a die cut that's special for you for your cards that looks more like that, where you have to buy a set number of paper and there's going to be a set number, and so you need to know that information, and you have to know that you need to ask it in the first place. What types of set die cuts do they have? A poker set die cut, and or what sizes do they have? So our Lost Ones tiles are 2.5 by 2.5 inches squared. That's not your typical, as opposed to the poker cards size cards that we have. You need to know that information and what is the difference in that when you're ordering. And then
Exactly.
my second one, pictures,
Yes.
were for the miniatures. So
I'm just gonna go to the bathroom while you do this. Like,
cool, that's fine.
I'm out. Go on.
So miniatures. When you make a miniature and you either send a 3D model or I've seen some people have the sculpts made and then ship the sculpts over. What they're going to do is an evolved process, and I've got pictures of the end result here. That's a miniature mold. So the ones in the cage are ones that are being stored, that are finished and closed, and the ones that people are leaning over and looking at are opened up so you can see the inside of them. It is not a tiny, they're like 400 to 600 pounds each. It's a big hunk of metal that gets put onto a machine, and then the injection plastic goes in and fills up the mold, and they open it up and break it out so that it's there. It's durable. It's made to last. I saw molds being shipped on the back of a truck on the highway, clearly going from one factory to another while we were driving along, which I didn't find that picture. I would have showed that one too. So when you make something and you send it over, the process is they're going to use the 3D thing to print out a 3D sculpt. Then their artists are going to adjust it based on their expertise and knowledge of where seams are, whether or not it seems like it's going to be too flimsy and it's going to snap or droop depending on the sturdiness of the plastic. Then they're going to use that to make a negative. That negative is there's so many multiple steps to get to the point where they make this final cast, that once you get a sample back, it's going to be from the cast. And if you say, well, can you just adjust? No, you cannot. You can't just adjust. So make sure, if you think in the early stages where they're like, we're concerned, we'd like to adjust it, get pictures of what those early adjustments are. Because by the time you get a sample, that ship has sailed.
And it got stuck in the Suez.
Gone. Right. Just saying.
Too soon. Yeah. Hashtag too soon. Oh, man.
All right.
So, that's 101.
That's 101.
So many good questions. And
how do they organize all those die cuts?
Yes.
Oh, friend, it's think of your local library. They're putting them in stacks and they're grouping them by the name of the company and probably by the game. But yeah, it's pretty open. They're making a lot of things and switching things out so very quickly. And like I said, if you would like to attend a full slideshow of Julie's trip to China, where all she did was take pictures, it's like when you had the old what are they? The actual slides.
Oh yeah. The negatives. My brain. I give up.
The projector with a projector screen and everything like that. I am happy to pull out every picture and explain what's happening in every single image. I may have gone overboard. I don't apologize for that at all.
I want to hear the little as you switch between the two the things. Oh my gosh. I love it.
I learned so much, though. I learned, the cultural differences, the expectations, the process, everything about it made so much more sense, which has made me such a better communicator when I'm working with manufacturers about what I'm asking for, why I'm asking for it, how to communicate that, and what an actual expected realistic timeline is and why it's that expected timeline. All of it super valuable. And yes, I'm happy to do that, but I knew today was not going to be that day.
Yes, exactly. So to wrap it up, what do you think? I mean, I know what you're alluding to here, but what's your top tip on manufacturing 101?
Right. So communication is key. It's everything. You are talking to somebody in a time zone difference of approximately 12 hours time difference. where they are going to be communicating, your sales rep is going to be communicating with the factory, of which there might be several depending on what types of components and who's experienced in which ones that they work with, and translating it from, to a different language, and then talking to another person. Communication is everything. And my example of this, my anecdotal example of
Yes.
this is 1 year oh wait, no, you didn't do the
Sorry. Go ahead. Sorry.
So I was, for Christmas 1 year, when we had just created Ninja Dice, I had asked for art, and we were working with an artist from several artists from China to make Yashima. So we said, can we have you make a picture, and we would like ninjas, um, with snow falling on them. And what we got was Snow White felling ninjas. So we got
Amazing.
this for our Christmas card. So when I say translation is important and communication is key, and make sure that you're communicating effectively, I'm not joking. This was my silly anecdote, but I have had also manufacturing snafus that have set us back time and money because I thought I was communicating effectively and was not. But yes, whenever I think that I'm doing a great job, I have to go back to that image, which was not snow falling on ninjas, but snow felling ninjas.
I
And
love
it's
it.
amazing, but it was not what I asked for at all.
Oh, awesome. So good. And
Yeah, your
mine
top
is
tip.
definitely do your research, ask for referrals. Earlier, Stefan said, if it sounds like it's too good to be true, it is. You need to do your homework. Ask around, see how it's been, how their communication is. Obviously, communication is key.
Communication, so important.
And if that communication is going to be bad and slow, you're going to be stuck forever in the process. So definitely, you get what you pay for in some situations too. So just ask around for sure. And let's see, what else do we have going on
We have
here?
what's going on in the week.
The week. Let's see what's going on in our week here. Julie, now we get to show off those cute little bears.
So manufacturing, like I said, was close to my heart because this week and last week, what we've been doing is finalizing manufacturing for both Barbarian Battlegrounds, or Tales of Barbaria, and Lost Ones. So kind of what I talked about. So my little bears that I got from baby shower manufacturers, like I think they must do like little like things that you can buy to set up at tables and things like that. I don't know. I know that I got a whole bunch of samples and they were adorable, and I asked for that color, but I asked for the ones that were sitting so they wouldn't be as top heavy because it's a first player component, and they were very focused on the color and missed the sitting piece. And that was my fault because I did a top down picture, which is hard to tell whether they're sitting or standing. And so it was making a choice of whether or not I wanted to push back the entire production of the game a month for a first player token that's really a toy, or do I want to keep it as is? And we're keeping it as is because they're still stinking cute. And so that was the final approval for bears, and that's so that manufacturing should be done by the end of this month. And then we get to play the logistics game. We'll be about at logistics in our season when we talk about my logistic woes for shipping bears. So, this is all very timely for me. And then so when you say, so communication, scaling for the miniatures for Lost Ones, we wanted the diameter of the bases to be the same as all of our others. And they had scaled down everything. So the kids were super small versus our Nightmare miniature, which was supposed to be really big, but not. And so we had to have this conversation where we're like, yeah, that looks cool in the world and it makes sense, but it doesn't make sense for the actual scaling of all the rest of our miniatures. So we sent over a bunch of pictures to show what we were looking for, and we're having a back and forth this past week to make sure that all the miniatures were the scale that we wanted, and now they're 3D printing what they think
Mhm.
so that we're getting copies of the 3D printing before they make the miniature mold, and it's
Look at
too
that.
late. And we're getting those at the end of this week. So that's been a big part of my week this week.
Oh man, it's so cool. I'm looking at the scaling and I'm like, oh, they look like little hobbits. Like,
Right, and I get what they were trying to do. They were trying to, because they're little kids, and I get it. But we were like, yes, but then at that point, all the detail and all the time we spent to make them is lost. So we want them kind of smaller, not super smaller.
right,
Um,
right,
so we'll
exactly.
see.
Well, for me this week, I had an interesting, exciting announcement that I already kind of soft announced at the end of our last season, that I am now moving into full-time consultancy and doing a lot of different things. And what I am offering, the services that I'm offering, I've finally kind of nailed down to the networking piece, the peer support, the and I can't even see, influencer marketing is something that I'm really interested in doing and starting to, build out, and licensing contracts. Those I am much more aware of all that than I even realized. So it's like, when you've done it all, what do you really want to do, and what are you really good
I
at?
love how you keep going, hey, I know this. And I'm like, yeah, of course you do.
Imposter syndrome, I'm sorry. But yes, I do know what I'm talking about. It's
You
crazy.
do. You're good at
Weird.
it.
Oh my gosh. And then obviously the overall marketing strategy. I did clarify that I'm not going to be the one in the detail work doing the copy and the images for a social media campaign, but I will definitely help build out the strategy for what you're trying to accomplish with your goals. So it was definitely something cool that happened this week. I'm still able to keep Wise Wizard on as like a client now, and I'm able to work with other clients, and so I'm taking those on and taking interest. So the other thing I was going to say is on Fridays, I am over on Clubhouse at noon Central Time, so 1:00 Eastern, and we're going to do kind of a networking thing. We're going to do it's almost like what's this week on You're Invited, only in the Clubhouse format. Who are you? What do you like? Where do you fit in the tabletop industry, and what do you have going on? And maybe we'll end up meeting some people and not even realizing that we were looking for them in the first place. So sorry, Android users, but you'll be there soon. That's always the disclaimer at the end.
What's Clubhouse? What's TikTok?
Right? I don't even what? That's
Clubhouse
great.
is an app. It's a new app, and it's lovely and delightful because all you do is talk, and there's no texting, and you can have a conversation, and then it goes away. So it is a wonderful networking
Drop-in audio
app
chat.
where you don't drop in audio chat. That's exactly what it is. So
It's true.
I think next week.
Oh, hey, next week I got a banner. Hang on. Sarah Graybill. She's amazing, and she's going to be on the show from Panda Game Manufacturing, where she is a project manager.
So everything that we gave our perspective,
Mm-hmm.
and we're going to have Sarah on to give the manufacturing perspective of similar concepts, similar topics, but we're probably going to dive a little bit deeper. So it's not going to be 101 anymore. It's 201.
Yes. We'll get even grittier.
So,
awesome.
Thank you so much for hanging out with us.
Yes.
This awesome session was sponsored this week by XYZ Game Labs. So once you're done here, go see all the cool things that they are doing.
Yes. And you can follow us on Facebook, on Instagram, YouTube, and Pinterest, and links are all in the description box below.
Enjoy your Friday, friends. Enjoy your weekend. We're glad to be back. And remember, next week, you're invited.